welcome to Safety Shorts. Whether you're listening in for a toolbox talk or just tuning in to see what's new and reflect on safety, we hope our episodes are the perfect bite-sized portion to fit in your day. From this series, you can expect to hear about safety tips and best practices, learn about new ideas, and most of all, listen to safety stories from our industry guests and hear about their lessons learned. Hi, I'm Emily Hargrove, Director of Occupational Health and Safety at NSSGA. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Safety Shorts. The MedicAlert Foundation recognizes August as National MedicAlert Awareness Month. The foundation, which was founded in 1956, developed the first universal medical identification system that's widely used today. In looking for guests to share stories to highlight this awareness month, I turned in-house this month. Today, I'm joined by two of my NSSGA colleagues, Director of Government Affairs, Adam Pugh.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
And Senior Director of Political Advocacy, Laura Henry.
Hi, y'all. Thanks for having me.
I'd like to start us off with a brief history of the wearable medical ID because the inspiration for MedicAlert started with what we would describe as a near miss. A 14-year-old girl, Linda Collins, she cut her finger and went to the hospital. Her parents were out of town, and before starting the stitches, the attending physician gave her a tetanus shot, a totally normal course of action at the time and under the circumstances. But immediately, Linda went into anaphylactic shock, and she spent nearly a week in a coma. She ultimately recovered from the reaction, but a very serious situation. Her parents, Dr. Marion and Chrissy Collins, knew about the allergy, but they weren't there to tell the doctors, and Linda wasn't well enough to speak for herself. After experimenting with paper documentation about her allergy, they tried pinning it to her clothes, wrapped it around her wrist. The Collins family devised a medical identification bracelet that she could wear. And when Linda went away to college, people noticed the bracelet and they began asking for ones of their own. Dr. Collins recognized the potential for medical ID to be life-saving for a lot of medical conditions: allergies, bleeding disorders, seizure disorders, dementia, and more. The bracelets save lives, and they are probably a lot more common than many of us realize or notice. And that's why we wanted to highlight this topic and share some stories. Adam, you shared that your sister wore a medical ID bracelet, and now your parents wear them. How has that impacted their lives?
Growing up, my sister had an allergy to latex and also was diagnosed with asthma early on. So making sure that teachers and the coaches were aware of her allergy was critical, especially playing the sports that she did. There were plenty of times where paramedics came and needed to know to use the latex-free gloves when treating my sister. So she wore the bracelet to make sure that everyone knew of her allergy, just in case during an injury in the middle of a game, everyone's not rushing around and creating a worse scenario when it came to my sister and treating her. For my parents, trying to get my dad to wear one as his medical issues are ever growing, and making sure that if we need to rush him to the hospital, the doctors are aware of his history, just in case, in the off chance that he is incapable of speaking. And then with my mom, she is wearing a bracelet every single day. She's on blood thinners due to a history of blood clots. So it is critical for the doctors to know. And the off chance there is a random emergency or an accident, we would need paramedics and EMTs to know and be aware of her blood thinners to make sure that they are able to treat her right away. So that's why it's critically important for my family to wear them. I felt like it was extremely important to raise everyone's awareness for the MedicAlert bracelets. So that way, as we address injuries out in the wild or accidents out in the wild, we're aware to look and to make sure that we're treating the patient or our friends or colleagues or even strangers appropriately.
Thanks, Adam. I hadn't thought about the sports aspect of all of that and kids in those kind of emergency situations where parents might not be around. Laura, you shared that someone in your family could benefit from wearable medical ID. What have those conversations been like?
I can say that we are so far, and both my parents and my child, when the question comes up, do you have any allergies? I like to say we haven't found them yet, which sometimes gets a laugh and sometimes gets a concern for my lack of seriousness. But we have not found any allergies. But I can second what Adam was saying. I did have an experience last year with my mother that I think I sometimes forget about, but she was not speaking. Her blood pressure was about 50/20 by the time the paramedics got there. And the first question they ask is, what kind of medications is she on? What is her history? We're not great at sharing that in our family, so I had to quickly find wherever her travel medication bag was. But that does not give the answers that a paramedic needs to know, like the blood thinners, like the, what medication she's currently on when her blood pressure falls to that. So we had to wait until, luckily, obviously, she was fine. But we were in a rural situation, and it would have been really helpful if I had that cheat sheet. And maybe also when it comes to privacy, she has something that she's not necessarily making sure all of us know because she doesn't like talking about it, but making sure at least the right people know. And additionally, I do have a 92-year-old still alive and still going strong father-in-law who lives with us. And obviously he doesn't work, but he does leave the house and he does go out and play his games, if you will, in Arlington, Virginia. Lives a pretty busy life. Again, I think my stress would be greatly reduced if I knew he was wearing something that can help in the chance that something does happen, because at 92, I think it's unfortunately a guarantee at some point in the next 5 to 10 years or sooner, something is going to happen to him. So I was excited that I could join this podcast and tell everybody, I think that this is very important. I would say from my work-life balance, I'd have less stress if I knew that we had this taken care of. I, like Adam, I know with for sure Jack, struggle to get them to want to do this, but I'm going to take some of these stories with me and go home and have a final conversation with him where we order this and take care of him. And mom, too, as she does, too, also live in a kind of rural area by herself.
Thank you both for sharing these personal stories and just getting people to look. We all walk past people with bracelets every day. It's just not something you notice. And we also spend a good portion of our lives at work. And whether we're in an office, a plant, a quarry, or traveling between sites, emergencies can happen anywhere, as you both mentioned. And a medical ID bracelet or wearable medical alert device can provide critical information when someone's unable to communicate for themselves. And I think in an industry where employees often work in dynamic environments, every second matters during a medical emergency. Having access to accurate medical information can help responders make informed decisions and potentially improve outcomes. So, Adam, Laura, thank you so much for being here and helping raise awareness of these devices. In the workplace, it's another way we can support one another, improve emergency preparedness, and create a safer environment for everyone. Thank you both very much.
Thank you guys for listening, and let's all go make sure we stay safe and healthy.
I agree. Thanks so much. If you know of anyone who needs to wear one, I highly recommend buying it for your friend.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in today. Until next time, I'm Emily Harper. Stay safe.